I've had it with this car. Hi, I'm Darren, an untrained amateur who's determined to save one of the last of these classic cars. This is Roy, a 45-year-old 2.8 litre Vauxhall Royale coupe. When I owned one 30 years ago, they were rare. Now they're unknown. This is one of the last of its kind, and I'm going to rescue it and relive my youth. Follow the rebuild, watch this legend come back to life. Morning everyone. In the last video, what we did was we put the crankshaft in, we put the bearings in, so we put the main bearings and big end bearings in, and we've got a nice, nicely rotating crankshaft. We also obviously put the pistons in with new piston rings, and we gave the bores a quick sort of 20 swipes of the hone just to take the glaze off the bore and put a nice cross hatch on. Now we need to do the timing cover. So timing cover we rebuilt the other day as well, so it's nice and clean. It's got its new timing guides in it, and the oil pump was given the once over. So what we now need to do is get the timing chain on and get everything ready to go. Now there's a chap on YouTube who runs a channel called Going Manta, where they have the 4-cylinder version of this engine, and he has done an absolutely excellent series on rebuilding it. And the way I'm going to set my gaskets and everything on here is entirely copied from what he did, even down to the same products, because he seems to have got a way of doing it where they don't leak. And as oil, you know, as oil leaks are an Opal feature, his joke is that Opal is an acronym for oil puddles everywhere left. So we're going to try and stop that from happening. As I say, his way of doing it seems to have worked, so that's what we'll do. We'll give everything a good, make sure we've got a good clean out of things as well. That's a thread. So the bolts that do the timing cover are these. They're M6 by 1 millimetre, and I think those two up there are M6 by 1.5s, but I might be wrong, because they're for the shelf. But let's first of all chase out all the crud from these bolt heads, or from these threads. Again, we're not cutting a thread, we're just cleaning the rubbish out of them. Look at the amount of crap that came out of that thread there. So this is a worthwhile exercise, I think. Now I know they're not going to be very tight. Let's yeah, so we've got no pressure on that at all. It'll either glide in or it won't. And again here, don't want it coming apart. Now, my chum on Going Manta's solution was this stuff. Permatex sprayer gasket. So we're going to use the gaskets, but we're putting this on as a spray-borne gasket sealant. He even does his head gasket in this. So then the gaskets have got a coating of it on each side as well. And it means they sit where you want them to. Which is positively brilliant. He also puts this frighteningly expensive Permatex Ultra Black along the top here. £10 a tube. But apparently it is the dog's doodahs. He says you only need a bit, but this is a weak spot here. And you have to be careful not to let it go into that oil gallery. And this stuff doesn't matter if it sits for a bit. Apparently it's if it skins over, it's okay. Right, let's pick a chain, because this block came without a timing case and without any timing gears. It was just the block, the pistons and the head. So Derek gave me this chain to go with it, but it's not the chain that went with the car, with the original engine. And that's the chain that went with my engine. So it's now a case of which chain is better. I can already tell you it's probably this one. Apparently they can stretch by up to 1 link. So here's a way of telling. Let's have a chain off. So with the vice, on the left is my chain, and on the right is the one Derek gave me, and I can already see the difference. I think. I don't know if you can see that. But there they are, hanging on the vice. And my chain is longer. My chain's stretched. So let's put the one Derek gave me on it. Now, we need to be on the engine, we need to be at top dead centre. Now, officially, it is top dead centre on number 6 for doing a timing chain. But that is a bit of a moot point, because although it matters as to where the camshaft is, as far as the block's concerned, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because these pistons go up and down in pairs. So when 6 is up, 1's up. But anyway, what we need to do is ascertain when we're at top dead centre. Okay, so we've got a dial gauge on there. What we should now be able to do is see when that piston exactly hits top dead centre. There it goes. So if we look at the highest, I can just zero it, just for the sake of completeness. What I've done, I've moved the gauge there. You have to be really careful not to move anything. That's the highest point there. That's top dead centre on both. And that has got the Woodruff key going straight up, which is what it's supposed to do. And so now, with the chain on it and tight on that side, this side doesn't matter. That dot is supposed to line up there, so that's in the wrong place. So that's a tooth out, that's right there. No, it's not, it's a tooth out, because when it's straight, that should be there. There it is. Bang on. Now we've got no tensioner in here yet, so with that closed, what we should be able to do is slide it over. There it goes. I bought new bolts. Okay, they're all snugged. And again, what we're looking for is that dial indicator to come to TDC. It just went past it. That's it there. And we are still lined up. we were a tooth out, we'd be like that, but we're not. We're still lined up nicely. Okay, now there's something I want to do here. While we've got the opportunity, because the timing marks on this thing are in a very awkward place. They are down the back of the engine. But I've got an opportunity right now with that dial gauge to get a hyper accurate top dead centre. And it's right there. That's going down. That's going up. So it's right there. And we've got a mark, we've got a nice mark there on the timing case. So we have got an opportunity to put a TDC mark on that, which will half help with timing, because then we can point the timing light at that, and the timing light's got a advanced retard on it anyway, so all I need to know is where top dead centre is and I can calculate the rest. So that's dead on top dead centre there. We've now got a nice little line there. Just mark that with a bit of silver paint. I have put some punch marks into the pulley as well, which should help to give it some longevity. But that now will let me blow a timing gun at that. And that's at top dead centre, which means if I set my timing gun at, apparently for unleaded petrol, these are normally at 5 degrees before top dead centre, and you put an extra 3 degrees on them for unleaded, so that'd be 8 degrees before top dead centre. So I can put 8 degrees on my timing light, fire it at that, and if that lines up, really the engine is 8 degrees before, which is where it should be, because all you need to know is top dead centre. The mark that's on the flywheel's not on yet, but the mark that's on the flywheel is just a dot and a pointer, and that's at 5 degrees before. Doesn't tell you where TDC is, so that's actually quite useful, I think. Okay, slight deviation. I had to take the sump off the old engine because I needed the dipstick tube, and you knock the dipstick tube out from there. And because I haven't looked in here before, the oil strainer is absolutely full of metal shards. Something's breaking up. Okay, let's put the sump on. So I've cleaned all of these mating surfaces, but the thing I definitely want to do is chase the threads out. I didn't get any sump bolts with that engine. These are the sump bolts from my old engine. So they're 12 mils. This is good because this morning we emptied tool station of these. Let's clean them all out. That's better. Take that dipstick out of the way because it keeps jabbing me in the leg. Right. Now the chap in the US did something a bit controversial here. He glued them with contact adhesive, which I thought was interesting. Mind you, I can kind of see the point of gluing them because then they don't move. I think I'm going to do that. That was all he did, but it just meant he could line the holes up, and I kind of sort of see the point now, because it does put them in place and they don't move. Do kind of get that. So we're not doing the full contact adhesive bit where you spray both sides, let it dry and then contact it. It's just being used to tack it down, but it does kind of work because now you can actually get it over the right bolt holes. Next thing then was to use the viciously expensive ultra black all the way round there to seat that. I'm just going to put the sump on that to hold those in place and give that gasket cement a little bit of time to go off. I'm just using it to weight those down, because then the other thing he did was on the edge he put ultra grey, which is this stuff by Permatex, and it's apparently high torque, whatever that means. How that makes any difference I really don't know, but now I want to add my own thing to the mix here, because the other thing Blue Polymer is really good for is cork gaskets. You're going to be the only Opel on the road that don't leak. Yeah, what am I? Who am I kidding? Of course you are. Of course you're going to leak. You're an Opel. But it's got the best chance because it's been put together right. It's got all new gaskets. It's got a new front oil seal, a new rear oil seal. It ain't got many more chances at being right. Right. I hope never to see the inside of you ever again. If that leaks, I shall be amazed. Right, let's move up the gear. Let's go halfway to 50. Check final torque. Sure it's 100 Newton meters, but let's just check. 100 Newton meters. One cylinder head torqued. Now we've got them two little bolts. Cylinder head's timing case, 25 Newton meters. Don't go tightening them to the same tightness as everything else. This will be bad. See, they're just going into aluminium. So you really don't want to tighten them very tight. There we go. All right, in the Edelschmied box, Edel something or other box, we have this little gadget. And this is an upgrade. The oil flows over the top, runs down there to a drain, and there's a drain that runs all the way down. Putting that in the drain raises the oil level around the camshaft. So it's like putting a little extension on the bath plug. That raises the oil level over the top of the camshaft. So it keeps, instead of the camshaft relying on splash, it creates a bath for the camshaft. So it's just going to put half an inch of oil in the bottom of that cylinder head all the time. What I want to do now is inflate all of the tappets and put some oil around it. Down there is the oil pump, and the way it works is the gear that's on the end of the crankshaft it meshes with that gear on the end of the distributor shaft. That's meshed in with the crankshaft. You can see there it's moving as it's unmeshing from the gear. And as that spins, what it does is it turns that. And that turns the oil pump. And I've got a cunning plan for turning that without turning the engine. And then what that will do is let me run the oil pump independently of the rest of it to get oil pressure. So let's put some oil in it. Quickest way into the engine's through there. Ordinary 2050, mineral, not synthetic. About the one thing everybody is agreed on is that the best thing you can give an engine to run it in is old-fashioned non-synthetic oil. They teach you to cut like that at electrician school. And then you go out into the real world and you never see a vice ever again. You end up doing it across your knee. That's pretty similar what we made. There we go, right, that's better. So, you can see oil coming out the tappets now. Our oil pressure's good, our oil pressure light's gone out. Shall we see if it'll turn over? That's one revolution. If it'll do two. It's feeling good, it's feeling all right. I can't feel any notchiness. All the cams are moving. But that's now on cylinder 1 being at top dead centre as far as the camshaft is concerned. So now my little dot is up here. And I've got a timing device that I got from Edelshine. That dot there, what it should be is when we are set at our mark round there. There it is there. We're set right there. Bollocks, I think it's a tooth out. Yeah, so we're one tooth out on the timing by the looks of it. So we've got to try and jump that chain a tooth. If we take off all of the tension for a start. Now what we need to do is get that round by one, like that. Retensions the chain. Now give it a couple of turnovers. To the pointer right there. Aha! Now we're dead on my top dead centre mark. That there is the timing mark. 5 degrees before top dead centre. So it's before my top dead centre mark. That's less than a tooth. It can't be half a tooth off. So that's right. So when we go to my top dead centre, which is what you set the cam to, which is right there, my mark lines up. Because what would normally happen is as the engine comes round, it would go spark there 5 degrees before, then it would hit top dead centre and then the flame would throw it the rest of the way. I think that's right now. That was just one tooth out. While we're at it, let's put the distributor in it and time it up. Right, yeah, that's about 4 o'clock. Okay. Right, the principles of ignition timing. So as the engine rotates clockwise, the rotor arm rotates clockwise. And the contact breakers open and close. I'm on my timing mark there. Rotor arm goes that way. In relation to the body of the distributor, the rotor arm goes clockwise. So if the distributor goes that way, if you're going that way, it's the same as that going that way. So if you're there, if you go backwards till it opens, that will be the spark. Because yeah, we're going round and round and round and round. We're effectively, by going back on it, we are simulating that rotor arm moving forward through time. Because if the rotor arm's going forward, the distributor body must be going backwards. Let's make it easy. Let's give ourselves a little bleep, then we don't even have to look at it. That's the point the spark will fire. Because that's the point that the contact's open. And that'll be when the coil lets go and fires. Because if we turn the engine over, we'll get a series of bleeps. As we come up to our timing mark, it should go off now. Perfect. That's firing just as the dot comes to the arrow. About 5 degrees before my top dead centre mark. About 5 degrees before my top dead centre, which is what I wanted. That's bang on. That should start. So that is like a end float thing for setting end float on the camshaft. It's a real janky way of doing it, in my opinion, but who am I? And what it does is it bears against that there, and you have to set the end float of that. Now the end float is supposed to be 0.1 of a millimetre, 0.1 to 0.2. So 0.1 to 0.2. So the highly sophisticated way that you adjust it is by thumping on the end there with a hammer. Well done, Opal. It was all going so well. You just know that there was someone in the GM redneck department who's going, yeah, you can just hit it with a hammer. It's like, guys, we just built this really sophisticated engine. What are you talking about? It's like completely ahead of its time. You're saying that we just adjust the camshaft with a hammer. 0.1 wheel. Therefore, that is adjusted properly with the aid of this special camshaft adjusting tool. So close, but yet so far. We can't finish putting the engine together because we haven't got the right gaskets. We are missing 2 gaskets. That the inlet manifold and the exhaust manifold goes together like a sandwich, and we've got the one for the cylinder head to the sandwich, but we haven't got any of the ones that go between the sandwich, as it were. So we need those. So we're short of those. Or I need some gasket material that I can make them out of. Because obviously I don't think I can make them out of paper. There must be something that you can make them out of. Probably a glass fibre or something like that. Yeah. So that, I think that kind of calls it for today, but we've done an incredible amount. You know, we've got oil pressure, we've got a cylinder head on there, we've got the power steering, the alternator, water pump. Everything is on there. It really is just the manifolds, the thermostat housing. There's one job that I wanted to do. I wanted to pressure test it. New tool time. You didn't think he was going to get away with one episode without me buying new tools. Absolutely not possible. What we've got here is a pressure testing kit. And it also does vacuum as well. Okay, so we've now got a system with 2 ends on it. This is the vacuum fill jobby. But it has got a set of valves on it. So if we turn those 2 valves off, that's acting as a stop end, effectively. It'll also let us put a vacuum on it if we wanted to. And this is a little pressure pump, which we can put on this end. That's also got a non-return valve on it. We are leaking somewhere. This thermostat housing was very corroded inside, and I did wonder if it wouldn't seal. Ah! Well, he's leaking here. It's leaking there. Doesn't mean it's cylinder leaking, but it's the water passages leaking to the outside world. It's leaking all the way down there. Do you know what? I've had it with this car. I've absolutely f***ing had it. That is leaking all the way along that seam. I mean, it's water to outside world, it's not to cylinders. And it ain't even water, it's air. I haven't got water in it yet.